The system told me to beg in the mortal world for 20 years. After 20 years, it would give me the cultivation of a sword immortal. Instead, I was taken back to a sect and raised by a lame old man at the Golden Core realm. Master, please, let me go out and beg. In 2 years, I'll be the sword immortal of this age. No. Why? Because I am the sword immortal of this age. I had a begging signin system. As long as I begged in the mortal world for 20 years, I would obtain the cultivation of a sword immortal. Before that, aside from immortality, I had absolutely nothing. From the mortal world's civil wars to Great Joe unifying the world, and then to today's demon race battering at the gates, I begged in the mortal world for a full 18 years, until an old Taoist going down the mountain to slay demons took me in as a disciple. The old Taoist was named Cao Wenxi. He was an old cultivator who had withdrawn from the front lines. He was lame in one leg at late Golden Core cultivation and was the sect master of Qingyun Sect on Short Hump Mountain in Linzhou. There were 2 other disciples in the sect besides me. Eldest senior sister Xiao Yue at mid foundation establishment. Little junior brother Lo Lao Shi at late Qi refining. When old man Cao first brought me back, I refused in every way possible and even tried to sneak out of the sect again and again, only to be dragged back every time. Each time he saw me acting crazy like that, tears would well up in his cloudy eyes and head point at the sky and curse. This damned world. Look what it's done to this child. It forced a good kid into hysteria, a perfectly fine home to stay in. Yet he insists on going out to beg. Child, don't be afraid. Since you've come here, treat this place as your home. Later, my home was gone, half destroyed by the demons battering at the gates, and the other half destroyed by Great Joe. Old man Cao always said the world was in chaos and never let me go out. He himself would go down the mountain to capture demons and earn a few spirit stones to support senior sister and junior brother's cultivation. The monsters down the mountain grew more savage by the day, each one stronger than the last. In the past, every time old man Cao came back, he was full of spirit, refreshed, and so proud he'd say with his whole face lit up, "This old man is a sword immortal." Now, every time he came back, he was covered in wounds, and even the tone of his voice carried a trace of awkwardness. When this old man was young, I was a sword immortal. That went on until one day, a temple was built directly across from our Qingyun Sect. That bunch of bald monks charged less, worked faster, and even had the silver subsidies granted by the Empress of Great Joe. So, we lost our livelihood. The key issue was that the temple was built on our land. I begged old man Cao, "Master, please, let me go out and beg. In 2 years, I'll be the sword immortal of this age. Then, I'll teach those bald donkeys a lesson." No. Why? Because I am the sword immortal of this age. Then, I asked Sword Immortal Master to think of some way to solve the sect's livelihood problem. There is definitely a way to solve it. Old man Cao thought for a long time, and, in the end, he pawned his own sword and traded it to the villagers for some radish seeds, cultivators growing radishes, and a sect master who called himself a sword immortal, pawning his own sword. That joke spread to the Guangfu temple across from us and brought a wave of ridicule. Senior sister Xiao had a fiery temper and often marched over with her hands on her hips to curse them out. Little junior brother was even less well-behaved. In the middle of the night, while they were sleeping, he took stones and smashed the windows of Guangfu temple. The disciples caused trouble, so old man Cao went over and apologized. When he returned, he told us to have less to do with those secretly rotten bald monks in the future. He also said his lifespan was almost up, and he had to enter seclusion to attempt a breakthrough. During that time, we were to grow radishes properly, not make trouble, and wait for him to break through to Nascent soul. Then, we'd go smash their temple together, and we'd taste a whole pot of stewed radish soup as our victory feast. Old man Cao entered his seclusion chamber, just like that, and never made another sound. Until later, when the demon race launched a full invasion and countless flying swords streaked over our heads, innumerable cultivators rushed toward the front lines. The radishes ripened. We opened the door to his chamber and read the letter he left behind. Only then did we learn that old man Cao had already gone to the human Great Wall. When he was young, he had been hot-blooded cultivator. When the demon race provoked humanity, he wanted to raise his sword and kill the enemy. Later, after his leg was crippled and the court withheld his military pay. He withdrew from the human Great Wall. A lame cultivator, with no sword, followed a civilian force to the front lines. 3 months later, Qingyun Sect received a family letter. Old man Cao was dead. The front lines lacked soldiers and food. The Empress sat in the rear pampering her male favorites and ignoring state affairs. She had betrayed the soldiers, killing and dying on the human Great Wall. 60,000 cultivators. In less than half a year, 40,000 were gone. My master, Cao Wenxi, was among those 40,000. Everyone else retreated. He didn't. He stayed with a remnant force that couldn't even walk anymore and held the human Great Wall. Golden Core cultivators were as common as dogs and nascent souls everywhere. I still don't know where he got the courage from, but he picked up a sword from the ground, braced himself, and walked onto the city wall alone. Before he died, he was still shouting some absurdly over-the-top line. Cao Wenxi, Sword Immortal of Qingyun Sect, on short Hump Mountain of Great Zhou, stands here, guarding the pass. Who dares step forward? My master died. Only later did I learn the Empress had sent people to kill him. His corpse was hung on the human Great Wall and used to build a mound of severed heads. The white radishes in the yard had ripened, but in the end, he never got to wait for them. His final wish was only that we redeem the sword he had pawned and raise an empty grave for him. But Qingyun Sect had no money left. Unless we could reclaim the plot of land that had been taken over by Guangfu Temple, junior brother Lo Laoshi went to reason with them and got beaten back out. Senior sister Xiao knew she wasn't their match. So under the cover of night, she left Qingyun Sect. She said she would go to the front lines and bring Master's corpse back. A woman at Foundation establishment still had the courage to do that. I truly didn't know why those bald dog husbands across at Guangfu Temple still had the nerve to come and steal the radishes in our yard. I had no cultivation. So little junior brother took up the heavy responsibility of defending the radishes. He said, if Master, that so-called Sword Immortal of this age, had gone to defend the human Great Wall, then he, as a disciple, surely had no problem defending the radishes. Junior brother also told me that once senior sister brought back Master's body, he planned to head to the human Great Wall too and make a name for himself there. I was confused and tried to persuade him. You're just Foundation establishment. What use would you be if you went? But Laoshi said, senior sister is a woman and still has such courage. Why can't I, as the junior brother, at least go and try once? Senior brother, once the war settles down, what do you think about me confessing my feelings to senior sister? I covered his mouth. Everyone knew Lo Laoshi liked senior sister Xiao. We just never said it out loud. But that kind of thing always gave me a bad feeling. When senior sister returned, she only had one final breath left. She held Master's head tightly in her arms and refused to let go. There wasn't a single patch of intact flesh left on her body. Junior brother had liked her for a long time, but all he could do was watch her die in front of him. That very night, he cried before Master and senior sister's graves for a long time, and then raised his head to the sky and roared, "You damn demon race! Coming for revenge!" That shout disturbed the Guangfu Temple monks who had come to steal radishes. Junior brother's anger boiled over. He fought them, was badly injured, and died without treatment. 1. Qingyun Sect. 3. Gravestones. And my home lay buried there. I still remember how Master used to return, covered in wounds. Our division of labor had always been clear. Senior sister would wash the blood off his clothes. Little junior brother would smear incense ash onto his wounds. I had the worst attitude toward Master because I often blamed him for stopping my begging Signan plan. But even so, I still boiled a basin of hot water for him. Back then, I still called him Old Man Cao. I sat in the yard for a very, very long time. I thought of many things from before. Now, my home was gone. The bald dog husbands from Guangfu Temple came to provoke us. They stepped on me, and all I could do was watch Master's gravestone be ripped out, his body, which had at least finally been laid to rest, dug out and kicked around like a ball by those beasts. Senior sister and junior brother's corpses were dug up too and hung from the roof beam. A shitty Taoist temple taking up such a good spot on Short Hump Mountain. They deserve to die in the mouths of demon beasts. Pah! The nascent soul abbot gripped my head and cursed nonstop. I felt like my skull was about to be crushed, but I still didn't back down. I spat in his face and snapped back. If you're still a man with balls hanging between your legs, then go to the human Great Wall and try your hands against the demon race. The moment I finished, the abbot before me looked like he'd heard the funniest joke under heaven. Ha! The human Great Wall. Human Great Wall, my ass. Her Majesty already ceded the human Great Wall to the demon race to settle the war. The so-called human Great Wall is now called the Demon Great Wall. The cassock on his body was woven with gold thread. I had thought things had gotten better, but it turned out everything was still a wreck. I was thrown down Short Hump Mountain. Grief and rage churning in my chest. The destruction of Qingyun Sect and the deaths of 40,000 frontier cultivators had all become one giant joke in the hands of this Empress. At that moment, the city below the mountain was filled with wails, corpses piled like hills, blood like a sea. Every pair of eyes was blood-red and fixed hungrily on the swaying people walking the roads. The moment someone fell, no one cared about any human decency anymore. They rushed in, tearing at them, sucking every last bit of flesh from the bones. The fleeing cultivators and refugees had decorated all of Great Zhou into a hell on earth. This was the second time in 2 years I had gone down the mountain. Only then did I realize just how well Master had protected the three of us. Though conditions had been hard, we had never fallen to the level of gnawing on raw flesh and drinking blood. Now I had no home and no attachments. So I once again picked up a broken bowl by the roadside and resumed my begging signet. 2 years. Just 2 years. And then I would become a Sword Immortal, admired across the world. During those 2 years, the demon race began stirring again, constantly harassing the borders of Great Zhou. This time, there were far fewer cultivators willing to step forward. There were no more screaming, flying swords overhead. What the Empress had thrown away wasn't just the human Great Wall. She had also thrown away the Great Wall inside the hearts of Great Zhou's people. 1,000,000 taels of silver flowed out from the Ministry of Revenue. But what they built was not border defenses. It was temples and Buddha statues. Looking at the newly built glazed giant Buddha in Guangfu Temple, I thought of our ancestors' statue in Qingyun Sect, the one that had lost its head. All three of us had once persuaded Master to find a mason and carve a new head for the founding ancestor. But the answer we always got was, the ancestor is formless. Today, he can be you, or he can be me. Rather than repair this dead object, better to trade it for grain and fill our stomachs. But how could Zhou Zhao not understand that? She would rather repair that dead object than feed her people. And I thought then that besides Guangfu Temple, there was one more place I had to visit, the Golden Throne Hall. When I got the last copper coin in my broken bowl, the system's voice finally rang out in my head. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have completed 20 years of begging signets and have obtained the cultivation of a Sword Immortal. In that instant, 5-colored light shot into the sky from above my head. Purple clouds rolled in from the horizon. Thus, a Sword Immortal was born. I stood at the foot of the mountain and climbed step by step. Short Hump Mountain was far harder to climb than I had imagined. A total of 13,452 steps. Back then, Master had walked this road countless times. He worried too much mana would be consumed if he flew too far, and that, after descending the mountain, he wouldn't have enough left to fight demons. So head, always fly a little, walk a little. He had never once complained of exhaustion. Now that I was walking the same path he had come by, I finally understood a fraction of that hardship. And yet, such a kind and lovable little old man, even after death, couldn't be left to rest in peace. Every single person in Guangfu Temple deserved to be chopped to pieces. When I reached the summit, Qingyun Sect no longer looked as it once had. In its place stood a latrine, reeking to the heavens. A wolf dog happily eating from the dry toilet barked wildly when it saw me arrive. Without a second word, I slapped it. The 2 Foundation establishment novices guarding the gate saw me, and instead of worrying about their dog, immediately mocked me. So that one palm from the abbot back then didn't kill this remnant. Could it be the Qingyun Sect waste came to seek revenge? Since he has neither cultivation nor skill, he can only bully the beast our Guangfu Temple raised. Back then, I truly had no cultivation, and I had been mocked by them. But this time, I had come for revenge. And now that I had become the Sword Immortal of this age, how could I let them humiliate me? I raised the wooden branch I carried with me and flipped the roof of Guangfu Temple off in one strike. The two novices immediately pissed themselves and cried out, threatening me through shaking voices. You, what are you trying to do? Our abbot is a nascent soul mighty one, and the Empress herself backs him. If you dare cause trouble at our Guangfu Temple, are you tired of living? A cold smile crossed my lips. The Empress, how many Sword Immortals can she command? The novices fainted on the spot from fright. The abbot of Guangfu Temple, Tongge, must have sensed the disturbance at the entrance, because he immediately stepped into the air from the Great Hero Hall. This time, it seemed he had sensed I was no longer the same as before, and he was much more polite. He pressed his palms together and greeted me. Benefactor, what brings you here today? Revenge, I answered flatly. Benefactor must be joking. Do I look like joking? I replied coldly. The calmer this old bastard looked, the more rage surged inside me. 2 years have passed for Benefactor to come here for revenge. Now, perhaps that is a bit too unreasonable. Why not allow this old monk to conduct a deliverance rite here for your fellow disciples, and let that affair be turned over? Deliverance! I let out a cold chuckle. Deliverance requires a body, doesn't it? Where is the body? Tonggu's expression darkened. Finally, one of the people beside him couldn't hold back and shouted at me. The corpses of those 3 wastes from Qingyun Sect were fed to dogs long ago. If you keep making trouble, don't blame the merciless staff in my hands. Buzz. Without another word, I slashed out with a streak of sword chi. That old monk who insulted Qingyun Sect was blown into a bloody mist on the spot. Benefactor, this is too much. You underestimate the foundation of our Guangfu Temple. What's wrong with underestimating you? Then, this old monk can only exchange a few moves with Benefactor. Tonggo's eyes turned red. He gripped his Buddhist staff tightly, chanting Buddhist verses. His aura rose level by level. In the blink of an eye, he had reached Deity, transformation, cultivation. 100 Zhangtal illusory Dharma form rose behind him. So it's the wrathful Vajra. I'd like to see how this youngster barely in his 20s can take the abbot's full strike at Deity transformation. Someone behind Tongge commented. The moment he finished speaking, I stepped forward once. With Sword Immortal cultivation, taking a full strike from a Deity transformation cultivator wasn't difficult at all. So I simply grabbed Tongge by the collar, dragged him into the CS pit, and forced him to choke down a few mouthfuls. At that point, he finally became afraid. Bubbling in the dung pit, he let out a few gurgling bubbles and said with difficulty, "What exactly do you want? You, and besides you, all those who destroyed my master's gravestone back then, those who kicked my master's head, those who beat my junior brother, those who insulted the corpses of my senior sister and junior brother, those who stole my Qingyun Sect's radishes, all of you, step forward!" I shouted with every ounce of my strength, my voice shaking the heavens and the earth. The lower cultivation monks in Guangfu Temple bled from all 7 orifices. There were 72 people total in Guangfu Temple. The weakest among them was still at late foundation establishment, and the strongest was this abbot in my hand, now choking on excrement. Among them, 20 had participated in what happened back then. Any one of them had cultivation above my master's, but not a single one had his courage. I've always repaid grievance with grievance and hatred with hatred. The first to die was naturally Tonggo, the one who had led the disciples and incited them. I crippled his cultivation in front of all the disciples, broke every bone in his body, and tossed him down the mountain, where he shattered into mush. The remaining 20, whether they begged for mercy or rose up to fight me, I sent each and every one of them to meet their Buddha. In a single day, I flattened all of Guangfu Temple. Those who had sinned, I tortured to death. Those who hadn't, I killed with one sword. Before leaving, I chopped the dog. ID slapped into fine pieces, and I pulled every last radish from their field. Master had most wanted just one bite while he was still alive. But now, his bones were gone, and I didn't even have a place to offer them in sacrifice. Master, oh, Master, was there really any point in helping this bunch guard the realm? What was so good about the human Great Wall? I had to go take a look and sit on it once, not for myself. Let it count as venting one breath of anger for all of you. And while I was at it, I'd also take back the thing Master had given his life to protect. Thinking of this, I stepped onto my flying sword and turned into a streak of rainbow light shooting north. White Jade City on the border, the last of the 4 frontier fortresses. If it fell, the demon race would pour straight into Great Zhao's heartland. Then humanity would become fish, and the demons the cleaver. The absurd thing was that only 3,000 remnant cultivators remained to defend the city, and yet, with 160,000 demon troops about to break through the city, Zhao hadn't sent a single person to reinforce it. When I landed in the city and looked around, there were corpses everywhere. Knowing I had come to defend the pass, the leading cultivator didn't even ask my name or cultivation. He warmly welcomed me into the city command tent. Zhao Changkong at Deity Transformation. May I ask, fellow Taoist, how many forces did you bring to reinforce the pass? And what is their cultivation? Only me. Sword Immortal cultivation, I answered calmly. The excited look on Zhao Changkong's face froze. Then he let out a long sigh. Fine. The day the Empress ceded the human Great Wall, I knew the hearts of the heroes under heaven had gone cold. Since a righteous person still came this time, Zhao still wishes to thank you on behalf of Great Zhao's people. Zhao Changkong was about to kneel when a eunuch's shrill cry rang out from outside the tent. Where is Zhao Changkong? Why haven't you come receive the imperial decree? Zhao Changkong is here. Zhao Changkong is here. May I ask, eunuch, did Her Majesty send troops to reinforce us? The eunuch looked at Zhao Changkong with a strange expression and unfolded the decree. By the mandate of heaven and imperial command, the decree says, within 3 days, White Jade City's defending General Zhao Changkong is to return to the capital and report for duty. Thus, decreed, I receive the order. Zhao Changkong pounded his chest in excitement and tugged at the eunuch's sleeve, asking, Eunuch, has Her Majesty sent troops to rotate the defense? I hear the Golden Armor Army in the capital and the Demon Suppressing Guard are all experts with heaven-reaching cultivation. If it were them, the eunuch avoided Zhao Changkong's burning gaze and replied haltingly, General Zhao, do not ask. Her Majesty has ceded all 4 frontier cities to the demon race. Our great Zhou. Rage filled Zhao Changkong's eyes. The cold wind blew over him, making his already weary and battered figure look even more desolate. How could this happen? How could it be like this? In fighting the enemy this time, I brought out 8,000 of my sect brothers, and only 3,000 remain. How can she just abandon White Jade City like that? What about the people of Great Zhou? What about the thousands of households behind me? Damn! Do you think I want to guard this city? Doing it for the wives and children behind me. That cursed old hag. The older she gets, the more muddled her brain becomes. Judging by the way he cursed without any care, I figured Zhao Changkong planned to disobey orders and fight a bloody final battle against the demon race in White Jade City. Holding the imperial decree in his hand, he walked among the remaining cultivators and asked loudly, the Empress wants to cede our White Jade City. I, Zhao, do not agree. Do you brothers agree? The cultivators all looked at one another, but no one dared answer. Faced with that dead silence, Zhao Changkong did something no one expected. That decree, made with a green jade shaft and yellow silk, was torn apart in front of everyone. If White Jade City falls, the demon army will charge straight into Great Zhou's heartland and abuse our wives and daughters. I ask once more, brothers, do you agree? Zhao Changkong's heroism finally ignited the fire in everyone's hearts. The cultivators, who had already been standing one step from death, let out a heaven-shaking shout. We do not agree. If we don't agree, then what? Kill the enemy! Kill the enemy! Kill the enemy! Are none of you afraid of death? What's there to fear in death. Good, good, as expected of the men who crawled out of corpse piles with me. Zhao Changkong. Every one of you is a true man with balls hanging between his legs, listening to that call and response. I finally understood why Master had been willing to stand atop the city wall and shout those words back then, even if not for the Empress seated high on the throne. Still, for the sake of that little lamp burning in his own home behind him. As the demon army advanced in overwhelming numbers, my Sword Immortal cultivation surged out like roaring mountains and crashing seas. Zhao Changkong's Iron Tower body shook, and he asked me, "Righteous One, are you truly a Sword Immortal? When did I ever say I wasn't?" I smiled faintly and lightly stepped onto the city wall. "Righteous One, how should we address you?" Zhao Changkong shouted toward me. Before, I had no name and no title. But now, it was different. "Master, you were right. The Sword Immortal of this age was you, not me. From this day on." My name was Cao Wenxi. I didn't turn around, one hand on my sword, standing atop the wall. I let out a long cry toward the dense ranks of the 160,000 soldiers below. Cao Wenxi, Sword Immortal of Qingyun Sect on Short Hump Mountain in Great Zhou, stands here guarding the pass. Who dares step forward? I don't know if it was because of that one roar, but the morale of the 3,000 cultivators below the wall seemed to rise another level. In an instant, they all shot up onto the wall and stood in a line beside me. Zhao Changkong of Stone Ditch Village, Great Zhou, Deity Transformation, stands here. Zhao Changkong's voice had barely fallen before he landed steadily beside me. Du Demeng of Willow City, Great Zhou, Nascent Soul, stands here. My cultivation isn't high, only golden core, but I'm still a man. I'm willing to die. I may not have one hanging down there, but I'm still a hero. At that moment, even the eunuch who had come to deliver the decree clumsily climbed up onto the city wall. His words drew a burst of laughter, but no one doubted his resolve to guard the city. The battle exploded into motion, and countless spells flew toward the city wall. Among them were more than a few attacks from old monsters at Void Refinement. These probing attacks I could block with a casual sword strike, but the aftermath of the fighting made the entire city shake as if it would collapse. Just as I was about to swing my sword and kill off the two Void Refinement old monsters anchoring the enemy formation, I saw from a great distance a terrifyingly powerful aura rise from within the demon army's central command tent. That Tribulation Crossing Realm demon marshal had finally moved. He recalled the two old monsters, overflowing with killing intent, and personally entered the field, flying before me at his signal. The demon army actually stopped attacking. Seeing this, Zhao Changkong and the others formed a battle array, intending to block the demon marshal outside White Jade City. But it was futile. In the end, a mere deity transformation dares try to shake a great tree. With one glare at Zhao Changkong, the latter flew backward like a kite with its string cut. A human ant at deity transformation dares look directly at this seat. That one glance nearly killed Zhao Changkong, but the demon marshal did not continue his attack. Instead, he turned and introduced himself to me. "Young human, I am Mi Shu, marshal of the demon armies. How about we have a little chat?" "Not interested." I let out a cold laugh, stepped 100 jang higher into the air, and cut down with one sword, immediately throwing the entire demon formation into total chaos. "You've already seen my strength. Do you really think a mere Tribulation Crossing has the right to negotiate with me?" I looked down at Mi Shu with not the slightest trace of politeness. Invaders like him only deserved one thing from me: the right to look up my nostrils. Mi Shu still wore a smile as he looked at me. Under my absolute strength, I could clearly feel his killing intent climbing higher and higher. "What? Nothing to say. Now, if you've got nothing to say, then get lost." Another sword strike fell, and the demon army lost another 10,000. I warned him coldly. "I'll give you 3 breaths to take your 3 armies and flee for your lives. After 3 breaths, not even immortals will be able to save you. 1. Young man, would you be interested in serving my demon race? 2. You won't kill me. If you kill me, Your Empress will not spare you. As the sword intent continued climbing and climbing, Mishia's voice finally began to tremble. 3. Withdraw. Withdraw at once. Mishu panicked and turned to run. How could I possibly let him go? From the moment he had led the demon army into the frontier, we had already become enemies to the death. I flashed forward and brought down one sword in the space of a spark. This demon marshal, who had commanded 160,000 troops, was split in half. White Jade City was held because Zhao Changkong had fallen from the city wall. He became the only wounded cultivator in the entire battle. Everyone celebrated joyfully, and with the supplies seized from the demon army, they finally had a chance to eat a truly full meal. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, Zhao Changkong, full of worry, sent me a secret voice transmission. Righteous one. This time, the demon race really has withdrawn. But if they come again, what are we to do? No matter. Tonight, go reclaim what belongs to us. Reclaim our human Great Wall. And while there, sever the head of the demon emperor. That very night, while White Jade City slept, I left with my sword on my back 160,000 routed demon troops, plus 100,000 elite guards. And beyond that, 3 great completion ancestors sent by the demon court, along with 60,000 elite soldiers, all starting at Nascent Soul. From their mouths, I learned that the demon emperor had given a death order. They were to stop at absolutely nothing to kill me. This young human sword, immortal. He thought too much of himself. I only had to send out one sword strike to shatter the dreams of those 3 great completion ancestors hiding among the great army. Their faces were pale with terror. Cao Wenxi, grant that your methods are heaven-defying, but surely you can't slaughter all 320,000 elites in a single breath. He was right. I couldn't kill all of them in a single breath. So I changed breaths. 1 sword, 2 breaths, 3 moves later. I had taken the human Great Wall back for master. I stepped on the chest of one of the great completion old demons and said with a calm face, "Do you want to live?" He nodded so rapidly, his head was almost hammering the ground. "Then, go tell your demon emperor to wash his neck clean and wait for me to cut it." Yes. Many thanks, Sword Immortal, for sparing my life. The moment he relaxed and believed he'd survive, I destroyed his soul. Forget it. Go tell him myself. One man guarding the pass. Sword pointed at the demon imperial court, killing until 3 generations of the enemy line broke apart. Once this got out, wouldn't our Qingyun Sect finally be famous? Before leaving the human Great Wall to head for the demon court, I used my finger as a sword and carved one sentence onto the city wall. In memory of Qingyun Sects, Cao Wenxi, Xiao Yue, and Luo Laoshi. Just as calamity was about to fall on the demon race, 12 imperial decrees flew from the capital to my hands. Along with them came the head of that eunuch from before. He and the 3,000 who defended White Jade City had all become wanted criminals. Zhou Zhao's demand was simple. She would use the lives of those 3,000 as leverage to force me back to the capital and answer her summons. After casually chopping off the demon emperor's head, I agreed. But Zhao Changkong still died. I stood in a bamboo hat at the gates of the capital, which in the eyes of the world was still prosperous and peaceful. The elite armored guards at the gate, all golden core realm, carefully inspected every traveler's face, terrified they might miss me. The imperial wanted criminal. When it came to my turn, I snatched the portrait from their hands. How ugly. It didn't look like me at all. I removed my bamboo hat and revealed my true face, and the originally peaceful atmosphere instantly erupted into turmoil. I had made it perfectly clear. Not making things hard for you. Go call Zhou Zhao over. I have words to say to her, but they all seemed unable to understand a single word I said. Some called for reinforcements. Some formed battle arrays. They swore they would capture me right there, since they refused to let Zhou Zhao come see me. Then I didn't mind walking a few more steps and smashing open the doors of the Golden Throne Hall myself. At first, they only dispatched 3,000 to 5,000 deity transformation cultivators, and even they couldn't capture me. I didn't want to injure common people, so I avoided their interception and didn't strike back. Later, 20,000 golden armor troops poured out and encircled the imperial palace. You could tell they were afraid. In their eyes, I was the wanted criminal. But if that was true, why were they the ones afraid? I asked myself what crime I'd committed. Defying the imperial order, attempting rebellion, breaking the alliance between the two races. The answer I received was only one line from the imperial decree. First, clear away internal threats. Then, resist external enemies. I agreed. Internal threats did need to be removed. I hated Zhou Zhao to the bone for docking military pay and endlessly compromising with the demon race. She never once thought of strengthening the borders, and instead spent silver on pampering pretty boys. She had a Zunrei institution, like the demand-suppressing bureau, and didn't send it to resist the demon race. Instead, using it for internal infighting in the capital. The older she got, the more muddled she became. Step aside. I was already displeased and had no patience to waste words. After saying just those two words, I released the killing intent in my body. For every one step I took forward, they retreated 3. Only after I reached the Imperial Avenue outside the Golden Throne Hall did someone finally make a move. The cultivation of a banished immortal, a golden Buddha Dharma form towering into the sky. It seemed the bald monk in black kasaya before me was the current Wandeo state preceptor. He clasped both hands together and walked toward me step by step, leaving resonant Buddhist chants wherever he passed. Amitabha, benefactor, if you lower your butcher's blade now, there is still hope for transcending the sea of suffering. Do not become like the 3,000 evil bandits of White Jade City, and even less like the deluded fools on the human Great Wall who refused transcendence and threw their lives away in vain. My heart shook violently, and I narrowed my eyes at the bald man in front of me who was full of fake righteousness and moral platitudes. Evil bandits, deluded fools. That's how you describe them. Seeing my killing intent rise, Wandao continued speaking. Isn't it? So, if they had been willing to lay down their weapons, I believe they surely could have moved the demon race and restored peace to the world. At that time, the Empress had already decreed that if they would not withdraw, they could only be treated as traitors. This poor monk had no choice but to cast them into a Visha hell. The moment I heard this, a surge of hot blood rushed to my head. At the human Great Wall, it was he who had killed my master. They gave their lives to resist the demon race and to protect the land and people of Great Zhou. In the end, they died by your hand. Do you feel no shame? Seeing my killing intent grow even stronger, Wandao continued. The demon race dwells in barren, bitter lands. Great Zhou is rich and prosperous. Ceding them some territory is only natural. This is the inevitable path of enlightening all beings. If benefactor refuses my guidance, then I also understand a little of fists and feet. As he finished, a giant golden Buddha hand pressed down toward my head. The whole capital was swallowed by the shadow of that Buddha hand. Wandao looked at me with a half smile. Benefactor, retreat now. Otherwise, with this one move, I can flatten the entire capital city to the ground. I raised the tip of my sword slightly at once. Wandao's expression became one of absolute disbelief. He tried to press both hands downward, but they would not descend even half an inch. Rise! Sword Immortal Cultivation, even in the heavens, stood in an invincible posture, not to mention the human world, where words could become law. The moment I finished speaking, every temple in the capital rose from the ground, following the slight lift of my sword point, and dust mixed with shattered stone spread through every street of the city. The finely carved gold and jade Buddha statues shattered into countless tiny fragments and rained down over the city. Any one of those fragments could support an ordinary household for months. And yet, Zhou Zhao had used them all to please that Buddhist pretty boy. It was laughable. The tens of thousands of cultivators surrounding me watched in silence. If before there had still been doubt about whether I'd really slain 3 great completion elders, then, at this moment, they knew exactly how terrifying I was. Wandao, your time to die has come. Oh, no, this poor monk knows his wrongs. Before Wandao could fully beg for mercy, one move from me shattered his sky-piercing Dharma form and also shattered his gall, courage, and soul. On the pure gold dragon throne, Zhou Zhao, with hair already mostly white, held a grape between her lips and fed it into the mouth of a fair-skinned, red-lipped young monk, even drawing out a glistening strand between them. If I hadn't interrupted them, they probably would have gone on lost in their sweet little world. 60 years old and 16 years old, and she was playing like that right in front of everyone. She really knew how to have fun. Seeing me arrive, Zhou Zhao glared at me furiously. Bold traitor, how dare you trespass into the court and disturb my cultivation with the Buddha sun? So, it's him, the one who bewitched the current sovereign into wildly building Buddhist temples and neglecting state affairs. I didn't answer him. Instead, I turned to the ministers on either side and asked. The court fell silent as death. Your Majesty, have I bewitched you? Zhou Zhao didn't answer. She only continued clinging to him. Only after the young monk asked did she respond. Zhao, him asking you, have I bewitched you? Zhou Zhao immediately shook her head in denial. No, not at all. Do not be angry. I will send someone to seize him right away. Men, where is State Preceptor Wan Dao? Summon State Preceptor Wan Dao. Zhou Zhao rose and waved her sleeves, ordering all around her, but not one person moved. What? Are all of you planning to rebel? Where is State Preceptor Wan Dao? Where is State Preceptor Wan Dao? Seize this madman for me. Are you looking for him? With a casual wave of my hand, Wan Dao's severed head flew in through the doorway. State Preceptor Wan Dao with immortal methods. How could he? Zhou Zhao immediately collapsed limp onto the dragon throne, and the young monk beside her lost all color too. Your Majesty, this madman killed my master. Your Majesty must seek justice for this poor monk. The little monk tugged on Zhou Zhao's sleeve, eyes full of tears. It was revolting, noisy, with nothing more than a glance from me. He exploded into a cloud of blood. The chief culprit who nearly drove the whole great Zhou dynasty to collapse. Sure enough, his blood smelled rotten. Men, seize him. Where is the demand-suppressing guard? Where is the golden armor army? My ministers, whoever can kill this madman for me shall be richly rewarded. No official move. Instead, they all took one step back together, making way for me. I walked toward the dragon throne, one step at a time, and questioned her one sentence after another. I ask you, was it you who ceded the human Great Wall? Was it you who gave the 4 frontier cities to the demon race? It was the State Preceptor. It was Wan Dao who gave the order. It had nothing to do with me. Then, I ask you again, the remnant cultivators who failed to retreat from the human Great Wall, and the 3,000 righteous men of White Jade City, who killed them? Wan Dao. It was Wan Dao, too. Oh, it was Wan Dao who killed them. I turned and glared at the ministers below and said, if I don't get the truth today, then all of you will die too. After everyone looked at each other for a while, an old minister with white beard and hair pointed at Zhou Zhao on the dragon throne and cursed furiously. It was her. It was this witch who gave the order. It was this witch who brought chaos to Great Zhou, pampered pretty boys, elevated Buddhism, and suppressed martial strength. After ceding the human Great Wall to curry favor with the demon race, she had Wan Dao go and execute all the cultivators still defending the pass, and the 3,000 at White Jade City were also ordered executed by this witch. Zhou Zhao widened her eyes and argued back in her old, shrill voice. They were only a few dozen remnant cultivators at Golden Core. If they failed to withdraw from the human Great Wall in time, then it would be all of Great Zhou, all of humanity, offending the demon race. Failed to withdraw in time. That's what you call it. Failed to withdraw in time. They were the last batch of cultivators to retreat, and because they moved too slowly, we feared enraging the demon race. So, we were also thinking of Great Zhou. Zhou Zhao's voice got softer and softer until, in the end, only she and I could hear it. In other words, if she hadn't given that order, my master wouldn't have died, and Qingyun Sect would still be whole. I had searched for revenge for so long, and the one truly behind it all had been right before my eyes all along, right there on the dragon throne in the golden throne hall. I hated her for destroying my home. I hated her for killing My family, half of them died at the hands of the demon race, and the other half died at the hands of Great Zhou. The moment Zhou Zhao's head flew into the air, it felt as though the whole world had gone quiet. In an instant, my thoughts drifted, and I seemed to go back to that quiet afternoon. Master had pawned his sword and brought back seeds. Violent-tempered senior sister Xiao cursed while tilling the soil. Junior brother Luo Laoshi got sent to carry fertilizer, and I boiled our last little bit of grain, waiting for them to come eat. In the end, I returned to Hump Mountain and rebuilt Qingyun Sect. My home was buried there.